Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast, and we are looking at a 5-game Christmas Day slate here, Nate. In this one, we are talking about the Dallas Mavericks with a ton of guys missing, taking on the Utah Jazz, who are pretty healthy, so a pretty big spread in that one. We'll get into all of those here in just a minute. Make sure to like and subscribe to the page, as we've got a video for each of those 5 games up for you. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to FDPicks.com or DKPicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, this game's standing pretty steady with the Jazz at -12 and a total of 214, which I mentioned is pretty low for a Utah game. I understand Dallas tends to go under, but I think that the over on that total is one of the best bets on Christmas here. And we'll tell you why in a second. We're going to look at the other 4 games on the slate quickly. The Hawks are +6 at the Knicks with a total of 211 there. No Trae Young or Clint Capella due to protocols. The Bucks hoping to get Giannis back from protocol. They are -3 at home against the Celtics with a 219 total. The Warriors will be without 4 key guys. They're +6 at the Suns. That's a 217 total right now. And then the Nets -1 at Lakers. No Kevin Durant and about 9 other players in protocol, although James Harden will be back for that game. We like the under there. We like the over here because I don't really care who Utah is playing at this point. If you're giving them a total of 214, look, they're probably going to get over 114 on their own. So the starting point might be for you to just take the Utah Jazz team total as at 114 if you're worried about Dallas, who will be without Luka Doncic, Trey Burke, Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleber, Reggie Bullock, Willie Cauley-Stein, and Kristaps Porzingis is once again a game-time decision. They've been playing quite slow without those guys, but very efficient. 5th best offensive rating and the 3rd best offensive rating in their last 5 road games overall. They've still gone under in 9 straight. But the 9 straight, that weren't against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They went over in both of those games, and there's sort of some commonalities between Minnesota and Utah in that Minnesota scores the 2nd highest percentage of points off threes, and Utah scores the highest percentage. And right now, Dallas is allowing the 3rd highest percentage of points off threes in their last 3 games. So a Utah Jazz team that's scoring 121.6 points per game in December, is 11-4 to the over when they're playing in conference, and is playing at the fastest pace in the league over their last 6 home games. They've really taken off in that span. I mentioned 121 points. That's obviously the best offensive rating. They're only 11th in defensive rating at that point, though. So that is why they're 8-3-1 to the over in their last 12 games. Dallas does tend to go under more often at home. On the road, they're closer to league average. And I just think that Utah's ability to score is going to get them out of their shell a little bit, make them run and gun a little bit more in an attempt to keep pace with what's been the hottest offense in the league.
Yeah, for sure. The hottest offense in the league, and definitely making, entering themselves into the conversation of making it a top 3 in the West right now with Phoenix and Golden State for, favorites to come out of that conference. And in terms of potential winners of that title. The over in general at 214, it doesn't really frighten me because, as you mentioned, I'm feeling really good about that Utah team total at 114, 113.5, depending where you find it. So if you like that, the only reason to be scared of that total on the game is because of the fact that can Dallas score 101, 102 points in this one? I think the answer is yes. But more importantly, like we said, the team total is what I'd feel comfortable about because we know Utah is going to score. Something to look at here is Dallas has come out and definitely given the teams it's played a handful since Luka went out. As we mentioned, they beat the T-Wolves, and they actually only lost the first one by 6. They only lost to the Lakers by about 3 without all these players, and actually beat the Hornets and were able to handle the Thunder. So they've got some nice games in there with decent wins and point totals that are all over 100, 120 against the Hornets, which everybody does. But still, if they're playing a team like the Hornets who are playing at such a fast pace, which we know the Jazz Jazz are always going to be in the top 4 or so in pace in the league, and that holds true this season, then we know that this better team in the Jazz is going to cause the Mavs to play a little bit faster no matter what. Can the Mavs make their shots? Not 100% sure. So that leads me once again to just feel really, really good that the Jazz will control the tempo. They're going to get theirs. And as a result, they're going to easily get that 114 team total. Something to look at too, when they are the home favorite, the Jazz, and they're the home favorite a lot because when they play at home, they're almost likely going to be the favorite every time. They've gotten plenty of double-digit spreads there as well at home, and yet they're still, they're covering at a really good rate at home at about 65%. And as the home favorite against the total, which they're the home favorite in 18 games this season, they're actually still going over 11 out of those 18 by an average of about 4 points on that. So, I think you can still feel good about that. When they're at home, they're playing a bad team, they're favored by a lot, they're still hitting the over total because they're going to be getting theirs no matter what. It's just a matter of how much the other team is going to be able to score. And the fact that, like you said, the biggest thing to me is we know the Jazz are going to be pulling a ton of threes. Dallas cannot defend it. They're that bad, in the bottom 5 in defending 3-point percentage. And then you've got, Utah scoring a bulk of their points off of those threes with a very high percentage, about 40 as a team. So it all spells disaster on the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball for the Mavs. It all spells disaster. And that's why easily the best bet here is 113.5 over for the Jazz.
Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to buck a trend here because these teams have gone under in 3 straight meetings. But, I mean, it's just that the goalpost is moving when you talk about a total of set at 214.5. Those games are averaging 220 points per game. Like the last 3 meetings in Utah that went under, but just barely at 220. And in Utah's last 10 home games, they're averaging a combined 232 with opponents. And they have a pretty poor 112.7 defensive rating in that span. I don't think that they necessarily feel like they have to be locked in against this shorthanded team. So I wouldn't expect that defensive rating to dip much. It is certainly a contrast of pace here in terms of dead last and fastest pace right now. But the home team usually wins the tiebreaker in those situations. Utah's going to be able to spread it out, burn this 3-point defense that's actually given up a ton of assists recently. And the Mavs, especially if Porzingis is not a go, they're going to be severely outmanned down low. Marquise Chris had to play center in their last game, which is fine in most matchups, but not against Rudy Gobert. So you can expect high efficiency from him down low. You can expect that to open up more threes for Donovan Mitchell, for Bogdanovich, and the rest of those guys as they continue their torrid stretch here.
100%. And it's unfortunate. This is not the nightcap game that we all probably wanted and hoped for. But hopefully by the time this game airs, you're already pretty good and drunk with your family and friends on Christmas Day. So it will be somewhat enjoyable and some live betting opportunity there too, as the Jazz play with the fastest pace in the second half and score the most points in the second half, best offensive rating in the second half. They also definitely end the game well, especially in Utah and that altitude, et cetera. So I think you feel really good about the Jazz in the second half, maybe some live betting opportunities for their overs as well. That is all the time we have in this one, y'all. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page so you can check out the other 4 videos we have for each of these 5 games on this fun NBA Christmas Day slate. Until we see you next, happy betting.